While mushrooms have many nutritional and medicinal benefits, I want to talk about the blocks or the substrate that they're grown on at home or commercially. These could be headed to a local landfill, or they could be recruited into your garden ecosystem. The main ingredient in these is sawdust from hardwood trees, which is a waste stream from the timber industry. While fully inoculated with mushroom spores, they also contain minerals, nitrogen, and have an acidic pH value. These blocks are food for fungi, but at mushroom farms, they're disposed of after one fruiting cycle. So in this video, I'm sharing how you can garden with mushroom blocks. I'm making soil conditioner for my vegetable garden using these mushroom blocks, garden compost, leaf mold compost, and an organic granular fertilizer. And while we're at it, I'll touch on some other ways that you can utilize this free resource. I'm Scott from New Garden Road, always out here to inform, inspire, and elevate you. Encouraging biodiversity and restoring habitat is my mission, one garden at a time. Maybe you've never heard of mushroom blocks or seen one up close, so let's take a closer look. So the first thing you'll notice is this plastic bag with this big dense block of sawdust that's bound together by the mushroom spores. Now this is a specific design to hold in moisture and humidity that's essential for the mushrooms in the fruiting process. But on each one of them you will find a patch that's responsible for air exchange. Now in order for them to produce mushrooms, they need to be cut open and then they're misted at least twice a day. At some point after that you'll start to see some pins form, and those are the baby mushrooms. At mushroom farms, these are produced under controlled conditions indoors, but you can also do the same thing at home, in your kitchen, or some other similar space. At mushroom farms, they're only used once, but they can fruit again. You might be asking, why are they only used once at the farm? And the answer is essentially to keep the production environment clean and free of contaminants. In the Austin area, it's estimated that roughly 10,000 of these could be headed to the landfill each week. Fortunately, we've got some local organizations that have come together to develop a recycling program for them. The Central Texas Mycological Society has developed a network of volunteers who will pick up and redistribute these blocks. You can go on their website to discover a multitude of pickup sites throughout the Central Texas region. And if you don't live in Central Texas, you may have something similar in your area. Once you get your hands on one of these blocks, you have some options for what you can do. As long as they're in pretty good shape, you can bring them inside, and if you miss them a couple times a day, you'll be growing some mushrooms before you know it. This can take a little bit of practice, and you might not be sure of when you can harvest your mushrooms, but suffice it to say, when they're ready, you simply pull them off that block. You'll get a little bit of substrate on the bottom, you just cut that off, and then they'll be ready to use in your kitchen. Now you can do the same thing outside, but they're going to dry out more rapidly and they'll be more susceptible to critters taking advantage. Another simple option that you could employ is to simply break them up and top dress your garden soil. You can do this pretty easily while they're inside the bag by simply stomping on them. The more you break them up, the better, and they'll be more rapidly integrated into the nutrient cycle. You could also bury them in your garden for a seasonal surprise and leave it up to nature to dictate when it's time to grow those mushrooms. Another great option is to take one of these blocks, break it up, and mix it with some mulch for your landscaping or your trees. And you could also simply add them to your garden compost. Layer them in with kitchen scraps or yard trimmings. They're a great source of carbon and they're full of microbes. But I want to show you my process for making soil conditioner. It all starts with breaking down those blocks. Now I chose to take a big piece of cardboard and remove the block from the plastic altogether. And after that, I used my heavy tamper to gently break up that block into smaller pieces. I thought this worked pretty well, but after the first round, I decided to push that mushroom block substrate through a sifter. And that really helped to break it down into smaller and more uniform particles. The main ingredient in this soil conditioner is my garden compost. Making compost in your backyard is a process, and in the end, you don't have 100% of that material broken down and ready to feed plants. So what I like to do is run my compost through a sifter. The larger material that hasn't broken down enough to go through the sifter is returned to my compost pile. I refer to this process as harvesting compost, and whatever falls through that sifter is ready to be used in my garden. I'm also adding a commercially produced leaf mold compost. I've been happy with the quality of this product, and it is produced in Texas. The last element that I'm adding to this mix is a dry organic fertilizer. This one is also manufactured in Texas by Microlife. This is their multi-purpose 624 fertilizer. Now you may be asking, why are you mixing all these things together? And that's a great question. And the simple answer is I want to supplement what I'm able to produce in my backyard garden in terms of compost. And as I do that, I'm also adding microbial diversity. I can only generate so much compost in my backyard, but I have a large garden and I want to feed it as much organic material as I can. So employing some of these other resources, I can increase the overall volume that I have to work with. In terms of mixing ratios, I really come at this intuitively. In the end, I'd roughly say that this mix is 2/3 2/3 garden compost, with the other 1/3 being a mix of the leaf mold, the mushroom blocks, and the fertilizer. Now that I've got my soil conditioner mixed up and ready to use, it's time to prepare my garden bed. And the first thing that I want to do is create access to the soil, and I'll be removing the irrigation lines and all the mulch. It's really important that that soil conditioner is married to the existing soil and there's no barriers in between it. And to further assist in this, I like to use my trusty garden weasel to lightly open up and loosen up that top layer of soil. We're only going about 2 to 3 inches deep here. I don't consider this turning or tilling the soil, but merely opening it up so that it can better receive the soil conditioner. My goal here is to evenly distribute about a 2-inch layer of the soil conditioner. And then I'll go back in with my garden weasel to lightly work it in and level things out. This is a really great way to prepare your bed ahead of new plantings, and this is also a great option if you have compacted or hydrophobic soil conditions. And now I simply put my irrigation lines back in place and I'm ready to plant. Ready to talk about some funky fungi, funky fresh fungi. Bingo, bingo, bango, bango, bingo, bango. Oh, trusty. Bingo, bango. Now check out more awesome gardening videos on my channel. Like this video and follow New Garden Road for weekly content. You can grow your own food. Keep it organic.